Drea is a long time attendee at the Sustainability Summit. She is a force for good in Portland, where she is based. She is the founder of Hidden Opulence Design House, and she is one of my favorite people to follow on social media because I feel like her posts are really thoughtful, and she doesn't post unless she has something to say. And what I love hearing what she has to say. So I'm so excited to introduce Drea Johnson from Hidden Opulence for our keynote talk today. And after that, we will have some time for audience questions and then small group discussions. All right, Drea.
Hello, everyone. As Allison said, I'm Drea. I just want to say it's such an honor to take the time and address you all today, wherever you're connecting with us from. And before I dive in, I'd love to say thank you for this moment. And I think it's important that we start with a little bit of breathing to settle us into our bodies and the space that we're creating together. So I invite you to close your eyes and inhale. And when you breathe today, I'd like you to think about wringing out all the stress and worries surrounding your life, and breathe in refreshment and openness for all the wonderful speakers today. So we'll meet you at the second breath, and inhale through the nose. And once you get to the top of that breath, breathe in a little bit of air for later. Exhale through the mouth. And we'll do one more for good measure, and for me too. Inhale through the nose. Take that big belly breath. Hold it for a little bit. And then exhale through the mouth. Okay, I hope that made you feel better. It helped me feel a little better too. Just to revisit, I am Drea, and Hidden Opulence is my business. And Hidden Opulence is a sustainably focused alterations and small batch production business here in Portland, Oregon. If none of that makes sense, we do alterations and mending on your favorite items, and provide small batch garment production to designers across the West Coast. So more about me. I know my pronouns up there said she, her. I'm actually fluid. I'm originally from Southern California, and aside from being a small business owner, I am Afro-Latinx, I'm queer, I'm a body positive model and advocate, and I'm passionate about the environment. There's this and so many more puzzle pieces that make up the work of art that's me. I'm a sister, I'm a Thea, I'm a lot of people's homegirl. And I know without a doubt that that's true for everyone here today. I have been attending this summit for a bit, and it's probably the best summit I've ever been to. So when I was asked to come chat with you all today from Allison, I was nothing but super duper excited. And so I was given a pretty wide prompt, sustainability and we definitely live in a time and exist within industries where we have these buzzwords. And the more and more we listen to the buzz and try to resume life as it used to be, I think the less and less we listen to words that should have more meaning for us. So today I'm going to bring back some meaning to sustainability and intersectionality. I don't believe that you can talk about sustainability without the mention of intersectionality. And if you do, you're probably reading a pretty dusty old textbook written by the patriarchy. I'll start by giving credit to Kimberly Crenshaw. She's a professor at Columbia Law and UCLA for coining the term intersectionality in 1989 when trying to explain the oppression of African American women. Um, we are living, breathing organisms that are not single dimensioned. I don't know if that's obvious, but I'm here to remind you. And I want to share how intersectionality and sustainability have impacted not alone my life, but today's focus will be my career and lend light to where these ideas can infuse intentionality and change in yours. So within my business, it's the first stop that I'll take you on. Within my business, we often think of sustainability as something about reducing waste or eco-friendliness, but I don't think it's just about that um, and reducing consumption. But I think it's about eliminating assumptions that can happen in our workplace and between us. And this can be as simple as opening up a conversation. It's really important to me to foster an environment that allows for growth and allows and breathes for mental health. It's only obvious, I think, that there's a lot of difficult issues and things happening in the world today, and being forthright about that in my business and using these events to incite conversation and within your work, especially when they're closely related to your industry. I know that for some this can be scary because it's a very vulnerable place to put yourself within your workplace, but I do guarantee that it will be enlightening. What this can look like internally is asking your team how they are handling current topics. Um, Allow them space to be open if they feel things are affecting them. Um, it can be a shining example of self-compassion to allow somebody downtime in work. And studies are showing that self-compassion is actually extremely sustainable, allowing that space to um, let people know that mistakes do happen or not to be so hard on themselves because there are other forces outside of work that may be putting them in a situation where they can't work to their best or be their best. Um, when it comes to events that come up in the news that may be very in line and affect your business or just the community that's there, what are some causes your team can work together to support? I think can be great team building and a great way to open up like that space of compassion between you and your coworkers, or if you're managerial, you and your employees. Externally, this can look like the intersection, or externally, I'll back up a little bit. Externally, at least for my business, this is like where I'll speak from. My perspective is, um, I know that the fashion industry is a very wasteful and polluting industry, and BIPOC women are the foundation of growth in this industry. So I believe, like within myself, this isn't something I can do without aiming to share information about garment workers and apparel waste. And when sharing information, um, my intention isn't actually to redirect people to my business. It's more about educating folks who are still consuming clothing from fast fashion, and hope to inspire them to make small changes within their buying patterns, like at the ground level. And if I'm lucky, there's someone out there that takes political note and interest. But all in all, we can't remedy what we don't know is wrong. Um, like working further within this layer, in my experience, I've done all the jobs that it is within my business. This may be pretty natural if you're a small business. You know, you have to wear all the hats, you got to do all the things, you got to take out the trash, you got to send the invoices, you got to do the shipping. But I think it's important to try doing these tasks before delegating, even if it's just one time to know. Um, I think trying and having the experience that you've done it yourself creates a space for empathy, understanding, and ultimately value amongst your workers. You can see them as, um, you can see them for who they are because you've been there. And I'm going to continue on my journey. And uh, yeah, so elaborating a little bit more on this idea is would be opening up spaces where it can feel more collaborative for your workers. Having been someone who is just um, more or less like a cog, just part of the process, it feels really, really good to be acknowledged for your efforts. So um, if you can do any highlights or any focus to let them know that they're important. And from the opposite end, um, as being like a boss and managerial, I'm always asking how I can help them do a better job. Um, so bottom line, um, see your employees, your customers, and your clients as people. Um, right now, in 2021, um, this part of the pandemic is being called the Great Resignation. And this means 40% of people in the global workforce have considered losing their jobs. So to me, that means there's a direct disconnect with people feeling like they are valued or seen in the work that they're doing. And we know that there's a huge effect with supply chain, and we need to have grace intact during this time. It feels like we kind of blocked out 2020 and we're trying to just like hop back on that train. And I don't know if we've learned anything. We need to just have slower moments and realize uh, the world is being heavily impacted by what's happening right now. Um, I just had a really nice conversation this week with a client of mine. We're having issues with some deadlines. It's having to do with just the work not being up to speed as anticipated. And it was really special for me to be seen as a person aside from trying to get this work done for them. They knew that I have other things going on in my life that's not just this deadline. So having that grace, it meant so much to me. And being a producer in slow fashion, I felt like that was the point carrying all the way home. I'll switch gears into the other thing that I do, which is modeling. And across the board, we're seeing diversity invested in. Definitely ever since, or a huge pickup ever since Black Lives Matter movement. And growing up mixed, I never saw folks who looked like me in media. And you have no idea the impact of seeing yourself represented and represented positively in media can do to validate you. And if you're wanting this for your business, wanting to show up in this way for your business, um, I ask that you be very intentional about this. When asking BIPOC or QT POC models to show up for your business image, respect their image. There's so many ways to show up as a BIPOC person, and this image is already very heavily impacted by the white gaze. And allow your privilege to grant space for however we show up. And if there's not an agent involved, allow the model to initiate conversation about a particular image that you may be trying to achieve. Of course, The stylist calls for the details. You know, in a shot, I understand there's certain things that need to be cleaned up and, you know, not part of the shoot. But if you do hire POC, QT POC, someone like me, do not direct their hair uh, other than to style for flattery. And better yet, hire somebody who can use proper language, style textured hair, and apply makeup to appropriate skin tones. If this isn't possible, and I understand that for a lot of my experiences it wasn't possible, I think it's important to compensate the model for arriving photo ready if you did not have access to this, or if your stylist doesn't have the products to take care of your model. Makeup is also art, and the supplies that work, they ain't cheap. But at the minimum, supply a mirror on set for self-styling. I can't tell you how many photos have been taken where I'm like, wait a second, I wish somebody would have cued me in, or maybe they felt scared to do that. But um, everyone wants the best image when you're collaborating on a shoot. So it should be something that is almost like no nonsense. Like, you know, we're supplying a mirror. If you could just do a mirror touch up, something as simple as that. It does not need to be. Um, it doesn't need to be so fused in other details. Uh, And along with that, you're creating this image for marketing, right? So if you're working on graphics or advertisements that angle that diversity, it's crucial. It's crucial to get someone from those communities to review proofs. And please don't come at these people wanting to pick their brain. We've heard that term used so many times, and we know what it means. It means I'm asking for your time. Without compensation. Uh, so hire or subcontract a BIPOC or QTPOC person or a queer person as a part of this project, and be upfront about the why. It may move it, that may for a lot of people, racial dialogue can feel icky and strange, but I think it's really important to be upfront about the why. Because if you're struggling with the explanation, which should be something that's mutually beneficial, I don't know if you're ready for this investment. This choice should be entangled in integrity and intentionality. Um, I recently was on a very high budget media production gig, and it was honestly the most Black people I've ever worked with, and no one ever addressed this at all, or why. But I mean, best believe, like between us, we were saying like, like this is kind of like, are we in the twilight, kind of in the twilight zone a little bit? And it ended up feeling off why we were all there. It was really awesome that we were all there together working on this project, but it was really odd. And I mean, we all walked away um, with great pay, but because there was no explanation around why we had all been pulled together on what would normally be and not, it wasn't like a Black produced or like named as such. Um, it left us with an odd sense of like feeling used, or maybe this was like a pat on the back moment for somebody. And so you definitely need to come through with the why in this type of scenario. And lastly, or my last stop for where you can infuse, you know, sustainability and intersectionality is definitely community. Even coming here to the summit, I've come into such a abundance and wealth of community, and for the person that I feel like I haven't quite addressed in all of this is the solopreneur. I want to address you because you probably don't have a team, and you're not in a position to work on the, grandiose production budgets and things, but I was you once. Um, Many people here today were you once, and you definitely did the right thing by waking up and coming today. And believe it or not, showing up at events nervously alone will get you really far. That was me. It's me, guys. So, with that being somebody who works alone or self-employed, you have to know as well that sustainability is not something that we can tackle alone. Um, Continue to listen to the podcast, read the educational material about social justice or climate change, um, all in your sweet lonesome. Um, and not only share them with people around, share like what you're learning or what you're hearing and digesting with people around you, but leave the circle and share these ideas with people you normally don't talk these things about. Um, in this space, we're only speaking with one another and nodding to our clients and supporters or friends who already feel the same. So I challenge you, as well as everybody here, to chunk out this knowledge that you're taking in and have a conversation with someone new, um, you know, about their last purchases, threatened local wildlife, or what all those numbers are inside of the recycling symbol mean. But please do this with a big smile, um, and spread the curiosity, not the judgment. Uh, it's important to note that oftentimes people know that you're very much into sustainability and social justice issues, and they might get scared or they might feel threatened or judged because you're wanting to talk about these things. But it's about creating curiosity and spreading the knowledge. It isn't about what people are doing wrong. It's about sharing a thought and helping people ruminate and having people go about their day and have one thing change when they're out in the world. And to this is a time, or what I'll talk about right now is just something that I feel like is super important to know, whether you're a small business or not, is scarcity mindset within community. If you don't know what that is, scarcity mentality refers to people seeing life as this like finite pie, and if someone takes a piece, then there's only this much left for everyone else. And most people there's a lot of people like from corporate world to immigrants and BIPOC have been conditioned to have a scarcity mentality. So everyone here, please like take this in. I'm going to admit that I struggle myself to combat this mindset. I was raised with a first generation Mexican American mother and a Black father, and I'm in the fashion industry, which nurtures the toxic trait of scarcity mindset. And it's something that keeps us so divided when we can be so much stronger together. And all of these things feel like something you've heard before, but it's so important. It's the basis. And you've probably heard the collaboration over competition and community over competition. And surprise, there's enough space for us all to thrive. And if you feel this way often, which is I do, find ways to remind yourself that there is enough for everyone. And if you're going for the collaboration route, asking someone to collaborate should also be something that's mutually beneficial. I've been asked so many times to collaborate and it doesn't actually feel like a 50-50. It feels like a favor kind of thing. And that doesn't feel good. That doesn't build community. That doesn't build trust. And we're here for longer term. Some examples of this are definitely, there's some makers and shops out there. Last year we made and sold lots of masks, facial masks. And I think that's the greatest example of looking like, look how we banded together and we all sold the same product and everybody benefited. Like we came together for like our community as a country. And everybody was selling the same thing and nobody was coming out saying, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys can't sell masks because I got that. We all did fine. That was a perfect example of us selling similar items, and there was enough for everybody. There's enough clientele, there's enough customers and consumers for everybody. Another way this has shown up for me this week is I messaged someone who was doing something similar. They're also, doing small batch. They're also sustainably focused. And, the initial like exclamation point comes up on my head of, oh my gosh, is this my competition? And I had to fight that feeling. I had to suppress that feeling. And my insides felt super scared. And I thought, why am I feeling scared? At the core base of it, this person feels as excited and passionate to dedicate their work to the same. We should probably have a conversation and see if we could have some sort of collaboration or overlap or something, a way that we can bring more awareness to something we both care about. So yeah, in essence, the wonderful thing about intersectionality and sustainability is that it truly isn't about one thing. It is absolutely about not one thing. We each are a cross section of the experiences of race, sex, class, advantages, disadvantages. And intersectionality coupled with sustainability is a holistic approach. Part of living life as authentically as you can is to remind yourself and others that these categories and boxes and singular ways of being are simply not true. So I'll leave you with this thought. From what you've heard from me today, which is a new view of sustainability you've always wanted to lean into, maybe felt a little scared? And what would it look like if we just took the time to contemplate how we could do this along with things we already do? Think of it as adding a little extra like salsa to your everyday or every other day, with self-compassion, whatever feels right, just trying to put it out there. But I want you to remember that honoring our intentionality is the assignment. Embodying sustainability is the long-term goal. Don't forget. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you so much, Drea. That was an awesome segue. So we are going to do audience questions now. Sorry, I always mess this up a little bit when I switch over to PowerPoint. So there's two different ways that you can ask Drea questions. We're going to have an audience question section and then small group discussion. So you can either turn your video on and just start talking, as long as no one else is already talking, or you can ask your question in the chat and I or Nicole will share it with Drea. So please feel free to jump in. Let me jump over to the chat and see if we already have some questions. Okay, not yet, but I'll stop talking so that someone else can start if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm going to be really brave and ask a question. And I'm really nervous to actually ask this because I don't know, I'll just put it out there. So I have an experience currently with a client who has a lot of free speech that they're activating, and I don't agree with everything they're saying. And so I'm really curious how would you handle it, first of all, because I'm kind of going through the process of unpacking it all. Because I have a policy where I don't discriminate against anyone I work with. I mean, on my website, I say I work mostly with people who identify as female, like that in general. But it doesn't mean I won't work with anybody. So I don't want to discriminate against people who have different beliefs than I do in terms of political or just general, and how do you maybe navigate or stay fully inclusive when it's kind of pendulum swinging the opposite direction?
I have had a similar experience recently, and I think I really focused in on, so this is a client, you said?
Yeah,
okay.
who I adore this client, by the way. I really like this person.
Yes. So at least in my experience, it was just focusing in on the things that we did overlap about. If you had a Venn diagram, it's just staying focused on those things, even if it's when you are promoting about, or if you are promoting about this client, stay focused on those things. And I think even in conversation, I think it's best to, I've definitely been in person and given cues and be like, oh, that's great. I love that you are expressing that. However, I feel differently. And then I kind of just move on. I kind of don't super explicitly acknowledge something that isn't working unless it is something that is directly, I feel could be harmful to other people or harmful to, me as I identify, or people on my team or anything like that. I think just focusing on what is working, if it seems like you care a lot about this person as well. So I think focusing on what's working, and then if there happens to be a moment or an opportunity where it's just reiterating exactly what you're saying is I don't agree with everything you say, but I feel very excited that you feel passionately about, all these things. It could be something that's very succinct and let's move on to what we do care about. Is
So
that
you're not saying
helpful?
I shouldn't work with them, or I'm just curious if you'd say not to work with them.
Right,
I'm just
no.
curious.
If you feel like there's a conflict that's going on inside about that, maybe they're veering toward speech that may become, hateful or something like that, that is definitely, I think, a point where you need to say, we've had a great time together. I've learned so much from this relationship. I think it's best we part ways. We don't have ideas that I feel are aligning in a positive way. I think you just if that's what's going on, if that's how you're feeling, I feel it's super important to at least say that one note, that one liner before you leave. I think a lot of us tend to say, oh, no, it's not working. And then want to toss it to the wayside. But I think as a community growing and going forward, that's not gonna benefit going forward. It's just gonna be oh, that didn't work out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely have a conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks, Drea.
Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Good luck.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We probably have time for about 2 more questions if anyone else wants to jump in.
I have a question. Hi there. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you can go first, Krista.
Sorry, I'm like so technologically not good. All right, here we go. I just sent you a message.
Yes.
Did you read? And then I sent it and then it got cut off. So basically I'm trying to open up access to the services that we provide to a wider audience.
Mm-hmm.
A more through this lens of intersectionality and just openness and affordability and all of that, because I have a very specific demographic, which it doesn't surprise me. It's and I do appreciate my clients and I don't want to lose them, but I want to know kind of like, what do you recommend for taking that first step to actively, getting a wider, a wider audience of different, a more diverse audience, or a more diverse clientele. And obviously I know there are things that I need to be doing, but not just like, here we are and we want you, that kind of thing, but like to make people feel like, because there's also like, I own a house cleaning company, and there's kind of like, I think there's a lot of feelings around hiring a house cleaner for, there's just a lot of, there's a lot of background stuff that people come with when they hire a cleaner. A lot of hurdles that maybe like mental hurdles that they have to get over once they decide to hire a cleaner. But I'm really just thinking like, what steps could I maybe take to make people feel more included?
Okay. Let me try to echo back. So you're looking to open up your business to a wider audience, what you're aiming for. And then you're saying like, along with house cleaning, there's like kind of some stigmas with like even hiring on a house cleaner in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I think that the first thing that popped in my head is looking for like, I don't know where you're marketing directly to, or like communities that you're marketing to. I think that would be like the first step, is like changing who you're marketing to. And then aside from that, are you doing anything social media? Like, how is your marketing looking?
Yeah, I actually just hired somebody to help me with that. Like a marketing communications person. I guess maybe not to like, take up everybody's time. I guess more specifically, what should I be mindful of when I reach out to different, when I market to different communities? Like, what are maybe some, little nuggets I should just really keep in the back of my mind, or in the forefront of my mind as I'm doing that, to really just be the most thoughtful and honoring my integrity, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is if there's any visual representations that you can offer, like through social media or marketing of, cross-section or diversity, I think that that is something that is super helpful, and people can actually just see themselves in that position of hiring on a housekeeper. That is like the first thing that I think of. And then just like kind of, I don't think I would love to continue this with you, like chatting with you. But no, I think that if you selectively choose like different places that where you're marketing, and then also I would be like transparent about, maybe even including that in your messaging, that this isn't, an antiquated thing. This is like everybody is working and deserves like time and space if they can afford to have a house cleaner on. Like they deserve to have that. It's like, it's not about anybody's ability or non-ability to like maintain or like balance. Like it's something that's for everybody.
I'm actually working with the woman that Allison mentioned earlier, Ashley Sloan, through Re Tacoma. She's helping me with some things, and she's working with me on figuring out a way to make our services more financially accessible, either through a sliding scale and that kind of thing. And I'm hopeful that that will allow a wider audience to participate in our services. But I think it goes beyond just affordability. I think it's deeper than that. So that was really great advice. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
Drea, and echoing on something that you said earlier about that if you can't really explain why you want to reach that wider audience, you might not be quite ready for it. When I started having events in 2017, the very first event that I had 42 people, and we were like blown away that there were so many people who wanted to these women in business events. And I looked around and it was like 90% white. And I was like, this is not what I meant to do. So why did this happen? And then somebody pointed out that almost all of the panelists were white. And so I was like, okay, well, that's step one, is diversifying the voices that I'm highlighting, right? But then step two took like 4 years of figuring out how to market to people that were not part of my immediate demographic, how to reach them, how to resonate with them, how to partner with organizations who could help get the word out to people who I didn't have access to. And so I just wanted to say that it might be a really slow process. It might not be immediate. And that might be because you're not quite ready. And this isn't pointed at you specifically, right? But just like in general, when we think we're ready to take that step, we might not actually be ready to serve those communities really well. So it's really important to just be gracious with yourself, be really thankful for the people who are willing to take that first step with you, and be patient, because I could do like an hour-long talk about just all of the mistakes that I've made and all of the ways that I've fucked up in trying to reach a broader audience, because I want them to be part of my community, right? Like I don't want to look at an event and see myself back at me. Like that's boring. That's just like one element, right? But just a point to say, be patient with yourself, be really patient with the clients and the people who are willing to take that first step with you, because you probably will mess up. And then getting honest feedback from them and how you can serve people better is it takes time. That's just.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think Moji is next. And then we have a question from the chat.
I can pass because it's going to be another long one. So I'll pass.
Okay. We'll see if maybe we have time to loop back after the small group conversations. Okay. So the question from the chat is from Stephanie. And she said, do you have any tips on how to change the finite pie mindset? As a brand new business, I feel automatically defensive when I see another person in my field trying to make it, but I don't want to feel that way.
Ooh, okay. So, yeah, it's something that has been in me for so long, this same feeling, I thought the same thing when I started my business and thought like, oh, now everybody's using da da da. But it's like, actually, if you can reflect on yourself, that's like all the bottom lines are like within you. And what is it about the question or whatever that's making you feel like, I think this is definitely a time where you would sit and journal. This might be on a little bit of a woo-woo side, but I definitely, during last year, I took some shadow work class, and also it brought quite a bit of clarity. It was kind of these questions coming up of like, if there's somebody you meet immediately or people that you meet and you don't like them, like, why don't you like them? It might actually be because there's something that deeply is reflected back at you that's within the other person or within the other business. And that might be something that you need to unpack a little bit more. So that's like very deep answer. But I do think that it's super, super important to think about why. And then as reminders to combat that scarcity mindset, like write some notes out, right? Like, I don't know, like 5 things that you can look at, or a sticky note that you can look at for a week that says like one thing about your business or one thing about you that you feel like is not like anyone else, that is unique, because no one can recopy your brain. I don't know what's in there. I don't know what your business is going to do or anything down the line. Like, you've got all that inside of you. And to remember that is that no one's going to repeat that because they're not you.
That's awesome. Why don't we see if we have another question, and then if not, we actually will. I think we have time for Moji's question. Okay, Moji, why don't you fire away?
Okay, so my question, hey, first of all, when you talked about being a solopreneur in the beginning of your talk, and you're talking about how um, it may be difficult to kind of implement all the things that you want to implement because it's just you and you have limited capacity. What advice do you have for someone who's kind of in that transition phase, who has been a solopreneur working by themselves and has all of these ideas? Like, what advice do you have for them for how to kind of start to make whatever changes that they want to make?
Ooh. When you say whatever changes you want to make, you mean like within like your work style, or like within?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about like how I want to treat my team, and you talked about like giving space for compassion
Yeah.
and patience. Like, how do you kind of like chunk out all of those big chunky things?
Yes. So when I was in this transitional period myself, I am a very imaginative person. So I definitely, um, it felt silly because it was literally all the things that they had us do in college, like create your business, right? Like create like this fake business. And it's like, well, no, now you have the real business. And now you also have experience, have been a worker in the past, like for someone else. So you already have some points of like what you're like, ah, hell no. Like that's not happening in like at my work site. So those are things that I think are like, if those are at the top of mind, like put those down, like literally get a sheet of paper. I think before I even began hiring process, I just sat down and I thought, if hidden opulence, like what's hidden opulence? Hidden opulence is this place, this magic paradise. And I wrote all those things out to myself. And as it became more and more real, of course, lots of those things were like, oh, well, you can't do whatever you want whenever you want. You're at work. like, but creating, the ebb and flow, like it became more real. So it was like creating this big fluffy dream, and that was fine. But as I got closer and closer, and I saved all those drafts too, because who knows, you might come to the point where you're way at the end and you're at a point and you're like, wait, I kind of lost touch with what that was. So like I can go back and see what my first like little fluffy cloud idea was for my workspace, and I can reintegrate those things. So I hope that's helpful. I'm like, dream a little bit.
And I wanted to share one of the comments from the chat because I think it's super helpful. Michelle said that sometimes when they have a scarcity mindset in their business, they also focus on being in service and who they are here to serve, and no one is going to do it the way that they do it, and that the in-service mentality crushes the scarcity mindset. Sorry, I know that those two things didn't link up, but that's where my brain was. That was all just super awesome, Drea, to hear you walk through some of those things. And I love too that this conversation is becoming more common of like, how do you actually cultivate a business environment that people don't want to quit, that they don't want to, run home to, although that you should give them the space to do that, right? But like that they want to be there, and how do you compensate people for that, but also how do you create an environment that's really nurturing and allows people to get what they need out of work, which is like a totally new concept, I feel like, for most of us in the United States, this idea that like you should be able to get things back from your workplace. Like it's not a one-way relationship. And having worked in nonprofits for a long time, like it was a very one-way relationship. And I know Moji and I have had this conversation before too, where they just like suck everything out of you. And then they see that you're competent and they just ask for more and ask for more and ask for more. And, you know, I love that we're starting to have conversations about how to, as employers, create spaces that are not like that, but also as employees, can we push back? And how that actually interacts with intersectionality, because there are some people who don't feel empowered to push back. And so if you are in a place where you do feel empowered to push back, it's really your responsibility to do that as well, and at least have those conversations with your boss or your board or whatever it is, and say, there's a better way that we can be doing this, and it not just serves me, but it serves everyone that works here.